Let's be honest, most our first guitars weren't quality instruments, and there's nothing wrong with that. Your first guitar, however, is more than just a guitar. It's a piece of you. I remember when I was a teenager, saving every penny I had, pocket money, birthday money. When I finally had enough money to buy an electric guitar, I begged my parents for weeks to take me to the guitar store. Then when I finally got that little beast, I spent hours in my room practicing and playing, pretending I was headlining the big day out or the Warped Tour. In fact, I wrote many of my first songs on that beast. Now 28 years later, my guitar has seen better days. It's been strummed, plucked and fingered more than Madonna. But a reminder again, it's more than just a guitar. It's a relic, it's a time capsule, and a constant reminder that I once had aspirations of being a big rock star, even though I was probably more suited to being a rock critic. But I can't let it go. It's a piece of my history. And even though it may be filthy and rusted out, it's the best guitar I've ever had. So let's give it a quick once-over and restore it to its former glory. So here we are, taking this dusty, busted relic of my questionable teenage years and trying to make it look and sound like a real instrument again. Will I actually succeed? It's doubtful, but hey, even if this guitar is beyond saving, at least I'll die knowing I got some attention. So let's get started. So here I am, unscrewing everything. I'm really no expert at these guitars, so I was trying to figure it out as I can, but I can figure out what a screw is and undo them. So let's take it apart and see what's underneath. So a bit of a backstory about this guitar. I got this guitar when I think I was 14 years old. And back then I was convinced I'd be famous by now. Like I had rock legend written all over me. But instead of stardom, what did I get? Endless practice sessions where I tortured this poor thing with every wrong chord and bad riff imaginable. If this guitar could talk, it'd probably say, "Put me out of my misery." So here I am, still taking parts away. I know this wasn't the most efficient way to do it. It's a lot of redundant screws removed from here, but eventually I got everything undone. So this guitar had really been put on the back burner for many years. I had got other guitars and this first one just sort of fell by the wayside and sat off to the side, getting rust. I think it's been with me in 4 or 5 different houses I've lived in, so this guitar has gone everywhere with me. And to be honest, I didn't look after the best. But now that's changed. Now we're going to give it a new lease of life. Now, pro tip here, when you're undoing this part on the back, you've just got to do little by each side. It's almost impossible to unscrew one all the way. It just causes too much of a headache. It's way harder than it needs to be. So this is a slow and steady wins a race sort of job. Now off to remove the neck, classic Stratocaster style, 4 screws on the back, and the body comes straight off the head. Now, here we go, let's take it apart. Look at that, October 1996. This is quite an old beast. Now, all the replacement parts I bought come mainly off Amazon and a couple of things on eBay for what I couldn't find from Amazon. There's many cheap parts going around on Amazon, and to be honest, this was a cheap guitar, so I didn't want to put too much money back into it buying high quality componentry. However, you can get some really decent parts off Amazon at a really good price. So here we go. Now we've got to clean this up here. This is almost 30 years worth of sweat, finger grease, grime, everything you can imagine. I found the easiest way to do this was just to use a pick and sort of scrape it all off along the frets there. Now this took a very long time. It's not a job you can rush. You've got to do it as strategically as you can. I also found using a wooden toothpick was pretty good for getting right up along the frets there, been able to scrape everything away. So this took a really long time. Do it properly, do it. Now, the frets weren't in too bad condition, so I just gave them a light sanding just to make them sparkle and look new again. Then after that, just nice good clean on everything what's not the fretboard. It's a little cleaning solution. Came up quite well. And after that was all done and dry, it was time to tackle the fretboard. So here I have some lemon oil. Bought this off Amazon, came overnight. So, this was quite old, so I used it quite liberally. You can see going on there, it's quite wet. I'll wipe it on there, let it sit on there for a little bit and wipe away the excess. I actually did 2 rounds of lemon oil on here. It was looking pretty dry when I first started with it. So here we can see the before, look how dirty that is. And now the after, look how clean and brand new that's looking. So that's fantastic. So yeah, next was more elbow grease here. Give it a good clean. That's 20 plus years worth of scum on that. So I went pretty hard on it. Just some general cleaning solution here. Try and clean up everything I could. A few minor blemishes on the paintwork, but it wasn't too bad. So rather than sand away and respray, I just opted to polish out anything which was minor. And it did a pretty good job. So even though it only goes for 20-30 seconds on this video, I spent a lot of time polishing this guitar, trying to give it a new lease of life, trying to make it look great again. So yeah, again, this is another part you don't want to rush. If you really put the effort in to clean it up, get it sparkle again, it really adds volumes when you put it back together. Just give it a final wipe down. Once I got it clean, it was time to tackle the hardware. So you can see here I've swapped out all the old chrome parts for nice black finish parts. I thought I'll give it a very different look this time around. Originally the black Stratocaster was quite common. I wanted something to look a little bit different in my collection of guitars. So I opted for the black jewelry on it with an orange pick guard. So story about that pick guard, it got sent out to me and I ordered 3 single coils and it obviously come with the humbucker. So I had to go back to Amazon and find a humbucker to be delivered overnight. So with the pick guard, it was time to start installing the componentry on it. So I got a wiring harness which proved to be a little more difficult. Being a lefty, this thing come out. The way it was wired was designed to fit a right-hand guitar pick guard, so I had to make some small minor modifications. I get the soldering iron out, and whenever the soldering iron comes out, so does the whiskey. So we can see here I'm constantly referring to the diagram because electronics is not a great skill of mine. And then back to the soldering iron, making sure I'm soldering the cables to the correct locations and making sure I'm earthing things out correctly. Now, if even a chump like myself can figure it out, I'm sure you can as well. So here we go, still making sure our connections are good. I'm sure many of you there are questioning my technique on the soldering iron. I'm sure that's not the right way to hold it, however it worked for me. And with a few whiskies and a little bit of patience, I definitely got there in the end. That was all done. It's time to start adding that nice black jewelry back onto the guitar. I think that black on black looks really good, especially when you sort of put a brightly coloured pickguard against it. You know, to sort of have that two-tone colour on there, you know, rather than the two tones with the chrome jewelry. I'd sort of give it a new, modern, sort of fresh look. Now, I was smart enough to remember how I took this guitar apart, so in my mind, putting it back together is just doing that in reverse. So, now I screw on the neck back on here. You know, those long screws, so a lot of twisting on there. However, it'll all be worth it in the end, I know that. So now I'm sitting the wired pickguard back in here. And once I get everything into place, before I screw everything down, I want to get a good solder connection on the input. This took a couple of goes here and I got there. So we screw that back on, and before I screw everything down and lock it down, I want to test. So what I did was get a cable, connect that to an amp, and run through each setting and tone knob, making sure that I tapped on every single pickup on the coil, and make sure that they all worked. When that was all done, it was time to begin screwing the pick plate down. There we go. Once I screwed everything back down and into place, put some fresh strings, this midlife crisis makeover, my very first guitar, is done. Look at that. Went from grandpa who yells at the clouds to dad with a leather jacket. It's amazing. It's amazing what a little bit of love can do.
Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me pull apart, clean and put back together the guitar. I must say I had a good time doing it, and thankfully there weren't too many errors along the way. Now let's see how this bad boy plays. In this demonstration, I'm going to plug my guitar into my Focusrite Solo and use Neural Amp Modeler. We'll test out a few different tones. Wow, that sounds amazing. And with its new look, it feels amazing. It's clean, it's tight, it feels brand new again. It's a guitar I love to play. I'd love to hear about your guitar restoration videos or what you would have done different with my build. I look forward to hearing them all.
Thanks. If you got this far, thank you.